Hello, and welcome back to Of the People. I am Robert Chernin with,
Ericka Redic.
and we are back. Before we get back on the as the Biden crime family
As
turns
the
saga,
world
it's the
turns.
gift that keeps on giving in terms of entertainment, at least. Um, Folks, you can find us on ASIC Fund, ACEKFUND.org, and I am at RB Chernin on Twitter if you want to talk to me. And you can download our podcast, our radio show on almost any platform you can find. We're there. So be sure and download us and rate us, give us 5 stars. And if you can't, give me the criticism. I want to know what we can do better. And Ericka, where can they find you?
I'm at Ericka Redic on Twitter. That's ERICKAREDIC.
Don't forget the K.
It's very important. And very also very important, like and share, y'all. Help us spread the message. Help us help you spread the word about these very important topics, cultural events, and things like that. Because the more we talk about things, the more we get it out, the better. Better
And the more
people
we
need
sing,
to
and the
hear it.
more we sing, the more we sing together.
Ah.
Not that song. No, not that song. All right. Had to go there. Back to the Biden crime family. I'll tell you here's my real thought. There is now proof that money has exchanged hands to someone in the Biden crime family. Don't
Yes.
know if it reaches President Biden or not. Let the facts fall where they may. But there's now proof China was paying them.
Yep.
Russia was paying them. Remember the mayor's daughter, right? The mayor of Moscow's
Hmm.
daughter. It was, is that another, I think, dinner, as I recall. And
Yep.
clearly there's been a lot of money flowing from the Ukraine. And who
Yes.
knows, with all the dark money, maybe the money we're giving to Ukraine is finding its way back through these funds, the super PAC or the dark money PAC back to the Bidens. It
Well,
wouldn't surprise
remember,
me.
they're missing what, like 63 billion or some stupid amount of money. I'm sure I got that number wrong, but they have already the State Department has already come out and said, "Oh yeah, sorry, we lost billions of dollars we sent over there."
Right, yeah. And by the way, they didn't lose billions of their dollars.
No,
They lost
our
billions of our
dollars.
dollars. But here's my question for you. Washington, the Richmond, north of Richmond, which, by the way, I'm told has 12 million downloads in 6 days. Thank you, Lord Benjamin. There is unity in song, folks. Don't kid yourself. That's why the left is fighting hard against it, because if they lose the battle for music, the tide in this culture war has turned. Mark my words. But here's my
Three
question,
billion.
Ericka.
Sorry, let me be 3
Three billion?
billion in accounting errors.
Well, that's okay. You do know, as a total segue, the IRS has just come out and said they have lost millions of tax returns that they can't find, which probably is a good thing, frankly. I hope they lost mine. But, oh, yeah, and folks, anything I say, look it up. So the Ogden, Utah office, and I forget which office in California, has now come out and said they can't find millions of records of U.S. taxpayers. So,
Oh.
right, this is your government that can't secure the border, that can't count votes properly, that loses, can't deliver health care in an efficient way,
Mhm.
that loses IRS records when they're not, harassing reporters or they're targeting Republicans, right?
Yep.
These are the guys that, and now they're censoring everyone. These are the guys we're supposed to trust because what? They're rich men north of Richmond. I digress.
Oh my
Here's my
god.
question to you. In all of this that's going on, and it's going to roll forward through the election, like I said, I don't think Biden's your nominee anyway. But who else is involved here? Because anyone who thinks that it's just about the Biden crime family, or Hunter Biden, or Robert Biden, or Dr. Joe Biden, or President Biden, these things don't operate in a vacuum. Washington
No.
is about as incestuous, and I've been in Washington for years in various capacities. It is the most incestuous place
Yep.
that you're ever going to find. So if there's money flowing from China here, from Russia here, because clearly some people at least are for sale,
Mhm.
Ukraine here, I want to know who else is involved, because this can't operate in a vacuum. As a matter of fact, so there's a former FBI agent, and his name is Kevin Brock, who is the former FBI Assistant Director of Intelligence. Is the first person I've seen that is starting to ask the question is, does the conspiracy grow any larger than Biden? What do
Oh
you think?
God, yeah. Oh my God, absolutely. This is the thing that we know. And anybody who has been paying attention or has half a brain knows how corrupt the federal government is. You've got there have been so many documentaries that have come out over the years, like Food Inc. and even oh, what's that one by the guy that everybody hates, Michael Moore.
The guy
He's a
everyone
left
hates.
winger. Yeah,
I
he's
thought
a
you were talking
left.
about me.
No, Michael Moore even. I mean, golly, the last time I was in college was freaking 20 years ago, and I was learning about how the director of the FDA or the CDC then goes on to have they pass some favorable law or some not a law, sorry, because they're not Congress, right? This is the administrative state makes some rule that benefits big pharma, who then that guy then goes on to be the CEO of some major pharmaceutical company making millions of dollars a year.
Hmm.
We've seen the corruption. We've seen it. Documentaries have been put out for years and everybody knows it. But if you say that we need to abolish the deep state or the administrative state, you're some kind of crazy right winger. And it's like, no, again, even leftists have come out against pharmaceutical companies and against the corruption in the administration. Why is it we can't pass these things through Congress? Why are we not seeing change? And
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You said in the last segment
yeah,
that we need campaign finance reform. And my
yep,
response to you is pretty simple. There is nothing more pathetic than trying to wean a politician off a feeding source, or let's call it the teat of power,
that's right.
right? Money is that. So they're going to self-limit themselves. I mean, those guys that were altruistic to a certain point died the last of them probably died in the early 1900s, at least in terms of political
Yeah,
power.
George Washington, Jefferson.
Congress, well, he didn't die in the 1900s, unless, of course,
No, I'm
there might
saying
be,
like it died with our founding
yeah,
fathers.
unless you're like, unless you're a friend of Ponce de Leon and you found that you really did find the Fountain of Youth in Florida. But so, unfortunately, reform is going to have to come from the outside in, and that's why it's so
Mm,
difficult. Right. The
yeah.
other fact is everyone thinks that Congress is corrupt, but not their congressman
Yeah.
or not their senator.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you foment change? Right. Because facts, don't matter, because facts are now in that sort of echo chamber of what's your political views.
Yeah.
And I think it's a much more pernicious thing that's happening here. It's what you and I've talked about.
Yeah.
I just had someone over my home this morning who was, working on fixing, one of the machines here, and young guy in his own business in his late 20s, great guy, solid, highly conservative. And he's just like, look, I'm too busy, feeding my family, making a living. I don't have time to get involved. And
Blah,
that's
blah,
the
blah.
real issue.
Excuse.
Well, forget about an excuse. It's the truth. I mean, the economy is in shambles, right? I think wages have gone up 3% and inflation is 16%, right? Or no, wait, wages have gone down 3%. It's like a 20-point spread. I mean, gas is $5 a gallon or whatever it is, right? So how do you foment change from the outside in? Because they are not going to pass laws that limit themselves. They're not going to pass
Well, and that's,
term
I mean,
limits. They're not going to,
that's why I'm a supporter of convention of states. I know we've had arguments about whether or not
yeah, you're not
COS
getting me on that, because I'm scared to death that it
I
goes
got
somewhere else.
you, but what is your alternative? War? Another revolution? Or is it
You said
instilling
it
duty and
first.
or instilling duty and responsibility? I guarantee you that guy who said, I'm too busy to get involved. If it actually mattered to him or it actually affected his life in a meaningful way, if they came after him and his family, you bet your sweet bippy that he would make the time and figure it out and get involved. But that's the problem. Everyone wants to obfuscate responsibility. I don't have time. It's not on me. It's for someone else to deal with. And then well, we don't want to do COS because that's too scary. I'm too important, or this other thing I'm doing is too important to
That's
take
not really what he meant.
responsibility for my country and my freedom and my neighbors. And
That's
it's
not
the
what he said.
same bullcrap excuse that I heard day after day after day when I was running for Congress. Oh no, Robert, you unleashed the beast with this one. That crap makes me more angry than anything else does. When people say I'm too busy or I don't have time, I'm like, oh, so you don't care about your family, you don't care about your kids, you don't care about the people getting killed in Ukraine and around the world, you don't care that we're arming and equipping people to have coups to overthrow the government all over Africa. You don't care. And I am sick and tired of those same people not taking responsibility for what is absolutely their responsibility. They control the levers of power in this country and they take no responsibility for it. And that is what is wrong. I'm going to come up with some excuse for why I'm too important to be a part of the solution. I don't want to hear it anymore.
You're done?
Yes.
I'm just waiting, because I'm going to be told I interrupted you too much, so I apologize for that.
Okay.
But
no,
I just want to know, are you done?
Yes, you may speak.
Okay. Okay, I can speak now. Ooh, boy, I'm not touching that one. So, Lord Benjamin, she's all yours.
Ooh!
So, look, first of all, that is not what he said, nor what he meant. And it wasn't an abdication like I don't care. It's that I'm too busy with basic things like putting a roof over my head and feeding, my family, that I don't have the time. Now, yes, you and I can argue. And he's in his 20s, right? You're not, even though you look like you're in your 20s. And I certainly am not, and I don't look like I'm in my 20s. But that's not what he was saying. And the point of bringing this gentleman up, and he was a stand-up guy. And in my parlance, there's no higher compliment than that. It was that he was so busy trying to just, feed his family, feed himself, and build something so that, he can live in the world. Unless, of course, you're Oliver Anthony and you live off the grid, which there are some who do that he doesn't have the bandwidth. Now, look, I would agree with you that a certain aspect is that this is by intent, not of this person, but
Correct.
The government wants you to be that. But you can't, look, until there's a mass uprising of some sort, you're asking what the solution is. I don't know what the solution is, but I don't believe that Convention of States is that. If I'm wrong, I would love to be wrong. And if it ends up happening, I think it's great. But absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I just don't trust political leaders. Change has to come from the bottom up. You can define that however you want.
But that means people have to participate. I bet you that same
why
guy
are we
will
doing
give
this
you
show?
all the reason. I bet that same dude doesn't vote and will give you 1,000 excuses for why he doesn't vote. So they can complain all day about the way that things are. But if you don't actually participate in your own self-governance, then you're part of the problem. That is the problem. I don't have time. I'm too busy. It's someone else's responsibility. Well, if that's the case, then
you're inferring to him things he did not say. He did not say. He does vote, and you're inferring to him things he did not say. I understand you're passionate about this point, and I share your passion. That's why we do this show, right? Is to give people information to motivate them, to get them involved, to, give them tools to fight back so that when the woke mob tries to cancel them or tries to shut them down or demagogue, demonize, and divide. That's why we do this. But you are impugning this guy's integrity because, and I understand this is a hot button for you. I get that. But and by the way, he's under 30. I don't know about you. I didn't get involved until I was in my 30s. right? Now, obviously, I'm an altacocker now, so I'm an old guy, so I've been involved for a long time, right? But I agree with your passion and your emotion, and I agree with your sentiment that people need to get involved. But by the way, you can get involved on the local level, school boards, right?
Yes,
Town, town
exactly.
manager, whatever. So
Correct.
he and I were talking about federal level and federal politicians, and he wasn't saying he's not involved locally. We did talk about that if those big bad wokesters from the big city, the Jason Aldean, try that in a small town, is if all hell breaks loose and they try to come to New Hampshire, he'll give them a warm welcome, as will I. But so I hear you, I get your passion, but let's go back to this whole Biden crime family thing, because I want to now focus on China, because China is one of the people that we know has funneled money either directly or indirectly. And again, proof isn't quite there yet, but there's certainly enough evidence or at least testimony that it has. Do you know what the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is, the SPR?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know that we have drained the SPR back in
Yes.
November? And guess who we were selling that oil to?
China.
China.
Yes.
And we're not replenishing it. So people, you need to understand. So on top of everything else, right? Is it a quid pro quo? Not that I can prove. But so the Energy Secretary, Jennifer Granholm, in November, and this goes back to Biden, we'll get there in a second, has 2 conversations with her counterpart in China to let them know beforehand that we're going to drain the SPR and we're going to sell millions of gallons to China. And supposedly China was going to do something that was sort of equal or equivalent. And all China did was take our oil, obviously use it, and build their own reserve. How
Correct.
stupid are we?
Yeah,
Right?
we sold our most
and they're not refilling
valuable
it.
asset at that we sold our most valuable asset that was purchased at a lower price
Right.
to our biggest worst enemy, and in
Good
order
word.
to have replenished it, we would have had to repurchase at a higher price. So to me, it is 100% clear that the Biden administration specifically, but that the federal government generally is committed to destroying and decimating the United States economy. They are committed to destroying the value of the US dollar, of destroying our credit rating, and essentially taking us down from being the number 1 economy in the world. It to me personally, as a person who is involved in finance and pays very close attention to anything that involves debt, asset management, finances, the Federal Reserve, all that kind of stuff. All of these moves were very clearly going to put us in a worse position. And so either this is the stupidest group of people that has
They're not
ever
stupid.
been
They're
assembled.
not stupid.
Exactly. So they have to be the most malicious. I don't see any other I don't see these moves as being anything other than malicious in intent.
You're not going to get an argument out of me, I can tell you. The question really to me is, why aren't people just pursuing the facts, right? I mean, you're pursuing Trump. And again, I don't want to get into the whole Trump thing because you're going to send people off the deep end. I think these are, no pun intended, trumped up charges. Not that he hasn't perhaps transgressed the law here or there. Let him prove it. Let the facts, fall where they may. I think you're going to see in this latest indictment coming out of Georgia, you're going to have a replay of the Bill Clinton. It depends on the meaning of what the meaning of the word is.
It depends
because
on your definition of the word is.
Well, no. So supposedly there's 2 different versions of what happened in the phone call with Raffensperger, which is, find me the votes, or, I need to find the votes, or we need to find the votes. Let's see whether it plays itself out. But going back to the whole Biden thing, to me, the issue has to be one of accountability. Now, here's the real question, though. Who's behind Biden?
Mm. Well, I can tell you who's behind Of the People.
Who's
And
that?
it's ASIC and Coalition for America, who is where
Oh,
we're
those
going to go
guys.
to on this next commercial break that Benjamin's been giving me the
The
pointing
high
at his
sign.
watch sign over here.
Okay. Folks, you have been listening to Of the People with Robert Chernin and Ericka
Ericka
Redic.
Redic.
Don't you love the way my voice echoes like that? I didn't know I sounded like that.
Echo, echo, echo.
We will be right back for more fisticuffs. Stay tuned.